Good morning to everybody. I am Stefan van Eck, Professor at University of Pretoria and the current President of the African Labour Law Society. It gives me great pleasure to welcome all of you here this morning, and in particular, I would like to welcome a number of special guests. Firstly, the Honourable Minister Balopi, Minister of Employment, Labour Productivity and Skills Development, and also other dignitaries of the government of Botswana. I also want to welcome a number of delegates from the ILO. Ms. Cynthia Samuel Olujuwon, Assistant Director General of the ILO, and also the Regional Director of the African region. Also, Mr. Johnny Musabayana, he is the Director of the Southern African Decent Work Team, and also Professor Evans Kalula, who is the current Chair of the Committee of Freedom of Association of the ILO. I would also like to welcome Mr. Frikkie de Bruin, the General Secretary of the Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council, Mr. Thusang Butali, the General Secretary of the Botswana Federation of Trade Unions, Professor Letlokwa Mpedi, the Dean of the Faculty of Law of the University of Johannesburg, eminent labour law academics and practitioners, the young labour law and social security law talented delegates who is part of our growing our own new talent project. And then the last but not the least, all of the members of the African Labour Law Society and delegates registered for this conference. I express the hope that each one of you will find this conference rewarding, stimulating, that you will be participating in the proceedings. Now, you may ask, how did we get around to this virtual conference? The African Labour Law Society has 182 members from 23 African countries. Now, the management team of the African Labour Law Society had been planning to host a conference in Gaborone, Botswana, during March of 2020. Now, the rest is history. You will all remember how we were informed about the COVID-19 pandemic. International travel was suspended, and we initially decided to host a hybrid conference, but later on we decided to proceed with this full virtual conference. At the proceedings, we were also planning to launch the Botswana Labour Law Society. And this we will now be arranging during either February or March of 2021. And we are hoping that during those proceedings that will be live at the Grand Palm Conference Center in Gaborone, that we will be able to engage there in interesting and stimulating discussions about labour law reforms that will be taking place in Botswana during the next months or possibly during next year. You may also wonder, where did this African Labour Law Society come to mind? How did it come that this organization was established? Well, in 2015, we hosted the World Conference on Labour and Social Security Law in Cape Town. And during those proceedings, Dr. Johnny Musabayana presented a speech, and he asked, where is the rest of the African voice? He noted that we've got representatives from Europe, North America, Asia, and also quite a number of speakers from South Africa. But he was asking, where are our speakers from other African countries? That comment of his planted the seed for the establishment of our African Labour Law Society. And here we are today with our 182 members from 23 different African countries. Now, what have we done since our establishment in 2016 of the African Labour Law Society? First of all, we started work on the integrated matrix with information of labour law jurisdictions in Africa. This publication is available on the African Labour Law Society's website, and all members have free access to this matrix. Second, we arranged our first African Labour Law Society meeting at Sun City in 2017. Next, we hosted our second African Labour Law Society Congress in Cape Town. This was followed by our last event in October last year at the Future Africa campus at the University of Pretoria of the ILO centenary celebrations in October of 2019. At this event, Professor Evans Kalula, Johnny Musabayana, Professor Mpedi, and myself launched the Growing Our New Talent project. And it was decided at that stage that we're going to launch a book. And it consists of the papers presented at the conference, mostly by members of the African Labour Law Society. So as I speak, and as we will show you on the screen, we have now published, just during the past week, the book with the title, Celebrating the ILO 100 Years On, Reflections from a Southern African Perspective. And we will be showing you the slide of this book. And you will be glad to hear that during tea time today, each one of you will be receiving the PDF of this academic peer-reviewed book of almost 400 pages. And it is an academic work that you can prescribe to your students, use in your referencing material, and this flowed from the ILO Centenary Conference. And then last but not the least, we are now busy with our third African Labour Law Society Conference. Also during these proceedings, we will be appointing or conferring rather on two new lifelong members to the African Labour Law Society. The first of the African Labour Law Society's honorary lifelong members is Professor Evans Kalula, who has played an instrumental role in the development of the African Labour Law Society. Now, as from one academic to another, I really want to commend Professor Kalula for the significant role that he has played in the delivery of PhD students within the academic world. He is arguably the professor in the field of labor and social security law who has delivered the greatest number of PhD students in Africa. Today, we will be conferring two additional honorary lifelong awards. And the first goes to Dr. Johnny Musabayana, who planted the seed for the establishment of the society. Without Dr. Mosibayana's support and also establishing connections for us into the rest of Africa and also, of course, into Botswana, it would not have been possible for us to continue with the proceedings of the African Labour Law Society. Congratulations to Dr. Mosibayana. And the second person we will be conferring the lifelong membership to is to Professor Letlokwa Mpedi. He is the current Dean of the Faculty of Law at Johannesburg University, and he is the incoming Vice Chancellor at the University of Johannesburg academic. He has spoken at each one of our preceding conferences, and he's played a huge role in introducing young academics and to place subtle pressure on them to participate in our proceedings and also to publish their work. So also a special word of thanks to Professor Mpedi. The program this morning will run as follows. It will be a great honor for me in a couple of minutes from now to introduce the Honourable Minister to open the conference for us. And this will be followed by some pre-recorded sessions and other live sessions. Now, with all due respect to Minister Balopi, whom I will introduce in a minute or two, just due to the nature of our proceedings, you will unfortunately only have 30 minutes. So, after the 30 minutes, we will move to our next pre-recording, and it's with no disrespect that his session will be terminated. This will be followed by Professor Mpedi's recording. After that, we will have our representative from the ILO, Ms. Samuel Olojuwan. That will be a live recording. And I request all members, please not to miss out on our AGM later this morning when our new management will be introduced. Just on the house rules, please personalize and optimize your own networking. Connect with fellow attendees. Ensure that your own video is not muted. Refresh should you have any streaming problems. And then I do want you to also connect to our sponsors. We are greatly indebted to the ILO, Armstrong's, Ghent University, Global Business Solutions, ENS Africa, Lex Africa, LexisNexis, Baker McKenzie, Public Service Coordinating Bargaining Council, and ILO. This then leaves me to the great pleasure that I have to introduce to you Minister Balopi. He's a Member of Parliament of Gaborone North. He was voted to Parliament in October 2019. He has extensive experience in the corporate world, and he has a master's in strategic management from the Derby University. To our delegates and to our Honourable Minister, I really hope that you enjoy this conference. Thank you.
Good morning. Am I audible? Program Director, President of the African Labour Law Society, Professor S. van Eck, and I hope I've pronounced it correctly. Keynote speaker, Professor L.G. Mpedi. ILO Regional Director, Ms. Cynthia Samuel Olojuwan, representative of African Labour Law Society member organizations, representatives of business and labor, participants to the third African Labor Law Society Conference, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It is a great honor for me to deliver these remarks today at the commencement of the third African Labor Law Society Conference. I was initially invited to open this conference early this year, and the conference was supposed to be held in Gaborone. But due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, which resulted in lockdowns and restrictions of movements in most countries, including my country, in order to contain the disease, we in Botswana lost the opportunity to host this prestigious conference. I'm grateful that despite the challenges presented by COVID-19 pandemic, the organizers of the conference found it prudent to utilize communication technology to bring together participants in this conference. This is one of the realities of the COVID-19 era that we will continuously learn to live with going forward. We are witnessing an acceleration of the fourth industrial revolution in this current era. This era ushers in new business opportunities and new ways of work. The third African Labor Law Society Conference is taking place at a time when the world is grappling with the COVID-19 pandemic. Unfortunately, the pandemic has claimed many lives worldwide, despite the fact that many countries have put in place mitigation strategies such as travel restrictions, social distancing measures, restrictions on the movement of people, as well as on social interaction. Although these measures have had a profound effect of breaking the chain of the transmission of the virus, they have also negatively affected overall economic activity in our countries. Businesses have not been spared, and as such, workers have been at the receiving end. Notwithstanding the fact that the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic are relatively low in developing African countries, it has presented more challenges to these countries in their fight against poverty, as a number of employees have been left without income during the periods of lockdowns and social distancing. This situation has been exacerbated by the absence of or inadequate social protection programs in most developing countries. The world's focus, attention, and energy have been directed at addressing the adversity caused by COVID-19. In Botswana, our efforts to address the challenges presented by the pandemic have been premised on the interactions given by His and directions given by His Excellency the President, Dr. Mokwetsi Erika Masisi, the President of the Republic of Botswana. Emphasis on His Excellency's guidance has been on the preservation of lives, support of workers, stabilization of business, and promotion of opportunities for economic diversification and growth. Pursuant to this guidance, the International Labour Organization tripartite constituents in my country underscored the importance of continuous and good faith engagement by government, business, workers, based on the spirit of give and take. I therefore applaud the organizers of this conference for finding it fitting to dedicate some time to discuss COVID-19 and the employment issues. The world needs sustainable solutions that will rescue mankind from the adverse situation brought about by the pandemic. And this is an urgent matter. Program Director, I am reliably informed that the African Labor Law Society was established in February 2017 with the aim to advance and promote labor law and social security law as legal and academic disciplines in Africa. And I'm very happy that you did mention earlier that most probably in February you'll be in Gaborone at the Grand Palm to launch the Botswana Law Society, as you were actually the Labor Law Society. The The mandate of your organization resonates well with the mandate of my ministry, as enforcement of labor laws form the core of the mandate of my ministry, and social security provisions form an integral part of labor laws. In executing this mandate, there is a great need to continuously build capacity to those who are in the front line in order to ensure that they are more vigilant and alive to any challenges that are confronting the parties in the world of work. For it is these challenges which present opportunities for improvement in labor laws. Such improvement should be a continuous process because the world of work is dynamic and ever evolving. This calls for regular engagements by the tripartite parties in our countries, as well as other critical stakeholders to pave way for the advancement of our people, particularly workers. I have noted that this conference brings together a wealth of experience, judging from the diversity of experts from all over the world that are taking part in the deliberations in this forum. It is also clear that the conference program has quite a variety of issues, including issues pertaining to labor laws, collective bargaining, social protection, COVID-19 pandemic, and the fourth industrial revolution, just to mention but a few. This will be covered in your deliberations, which at the end of the day is something that is very impressive, given the current challenges we are facing in the world of work. These are some of the issues that underscore the importance of decent work and uplifting the welfare of workers in other countries. Hence, I deem the theme of decent work in developing African countries, contemporary legal and social challenges befitting. Furthermore, I consider these issues as critical to the attainment of meaningful social and economic development in our countries, particularly my country. High unemployment, especially among the young persons, remains a major challenge facing our country. We are alive to transformative changes in the world of work brought about by globalization, technological innovations, demographic change, and climate change, among others. We fully realize the potential of these changes to bring about sustainable development. Consequently, the government is committed to harnessing the opportunities presented by these changes to achieve decent work and to ensure dignity for Botswana. According to the International Labour Organization, Africa is to a labor force of 500 million, and it is predicting that by 2030, the size of the labor force would have grown to 676 million, representing a staggering 40% increase. This growth will be driven by the rapidly growing number of young labor market entrants. Not only does this trend present a challenge for us in Africa to vigorously tackle the problem of youth unemployment, but also to make decent work a reality. This is one of the priorities we have set for ourselves at the 14th ILO Africa Regional Meeting held in December 2019 in Abidjan, Ivory Coast. In conclusion, Program Director, I wish you fruitful deliberations during this conference. The success of this conference will be enhanced much more by testimonies of how the lives of many will be impacted by resolutions from this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the government of Botswana, my ministry, and on my behalf, it is my singular honor to now declare the Third African Labour Law Society Conference officially opened. Please stay safe from COVID-19 and follow all the COVID-19 protocols as prescribed by medical experts. I thank you for your attention.
Dear Mr. Balopi, thank you very, very much for your insightful words, your encouragement that you have passed on to the African Labour Law Society. It is greatly appreciated. We know that you've got a full program and your support, and also the support that we have received from the government of Botswana is greatly appreciated. Just to provide you with one or two more pieces of information, during last year, some members of the African Labour Law Society visited the University of Botswana, who has also kindly assisted in the arrangement of this particular conference. And we had a gathering of almost 50 people from Botswana who attended a pre-event during which we informed them about the activities of the African Labour Law Society. And we also at that proceedings talked about the establishment of the Botswana Labour Law Association. And the African Labour Law Society has, as part of its vision and its mission, the goal of establishing national labour law societies up into the rest of Africa. At the moment, we do have members from some Afro-Franco countries, such as Mauritius, Mauritania, and also Mauritania, but we are aiming to extend our membership as well as our national African Labour Law Society organizations. And this will, of course, to some extent, help us be coordinated through the African Labour Law Society. We do have a couple of minutes to spare, so please don't go away. We will be placing a holding slide for a moment. We really wish to thank the Minister for keeping to his well-timed speech. And after the holding slide, we will have a pre-recording of a wonderful presentation delivered by Professor Mpedi. And followed by that, we will have our regional director of the ILO, who will be doing a live presentation from Abuja, Nigeria. And followed by that, we will have the rest of our proceedings. Some of them will be in parallel sessions, and for the rest, please look out for the email that we will be sending out during tea time today, when you will be receiving this wonderful book, which we hope that you will be able to make very good use of. Thank you, and please keep connected through the rest of this conference.